But first, voting with their feet. That's the focus of tonight's Angle. Now, judging by the latest census data, maybe you've seen it, people want to get the hell out of California, Illinois, and New York. Those three states all registered the sharpest overall population losses last year. So where the heck is everyone moving? Well, one of the most popular places to relocate from high-tax blue states is without a doubt here in Florida, which saw its population increase by 211,000 between July 2020 and July 2021. And by the way, it's not just people moving. Of the 5.8 million new businesses and the applications sought between January 21 and January 2022, a stunning 12% were right here in Florida. Now, with these numbers, it's no wonder that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is way up in the polls in his reelection race, and nationwide, he's building a profile and an impressive fundraising operation. With all the above, all those things we just talked about, liberal governors with ambitions for national office have the knives out for him, including that walking pile of hair gel, Gavin Newsom. Although he easily defeated a recall effort, his state is reeling from high crime, underperforming schools, a glut of illegal aliens, a water shortage, and high taxes. And instead of addressing that reality, Newsom lashes out.
I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight. Or join us in California, where we still believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to choose, freedom from hate, and the freedom to love. Don't let them take your freedom.
Yeah, what does freedom look like in California? Well, it certainly doesn't include being free of destructive COVID policies, because right now, 42% of the country is classified by the CDC as having high community spread, yet LA County is among the few in the United States threatening to resume an indoor mask mandate.
No, people are sort of saying, putting masks on is really asking a lot of folks. We asked a lot more of everybody for a much longer time, for much of the past 2 years.
Of course, the connected and wealthy in California never have to suffer under the same rules as everyone else. And by the way, that monster, Barbara Ferrer, who's not even a medical doctor, but the public health director, was seen at Major League Baseball's All-Star game maskless. Now, Newsom can crow about freedom all he wants, but it sure doesn't mean freedom from the skyrocketing crime. 65% of Californians view violence and street crime in their local community as a problem. 34% say it's a big problem. And it certainly isn't freedom to flourish, because a new CNBC article reports that San Francisco businesses struggle to hang on to tech workers. And last year, that resulted in a whopping $400 million hit to tax revenue. So under Newsom's concept of freedom, Californians are increasingly feeling trapped. And as a result, we've seen an exodus of 1 million residents just over the past 2 years. Wow. And over half of them tell researchers they've considered moving out of the state. But Gavin Newsom isn't bothered by any of that. He's more concerned with the man in Florida's governor mansion, nearly, 3,000 miles away? Now, he doesn't use his name, but we know DeSantis is the target.
I do believe education's under assault in ways that I've never experienced in my lifetime. Banning books, suppressing speech, the othering of our students.
Going after the gays, going after people, othering other people across the spectrum, going after vulnerable minorities. I can't take it. Stop being a bully. Stop belittling people that look differently, act differently, love differently. Who the hell are you?
He's something called successful. That's the problem. Now, all the wannabe contenders are lining up to take their shots, including Illinois Governor Pillsbury Pritzker. Now, because he's done such a bang-up job in his state? Yeah, sure. Now, if so, why did Illinois lose 122,000 residents? It's the largest decline in state history. In financial giant Citadel, it's moving its base from Chicago to Miami because of the rising crime rate, and taxes in Chicago is the primary reason behind the move. And that small company called Boeing, you may have heard of it, is also ditching Chicago headquarters for Northern Virginia. Can you blame any of these companies? And just like Newsom, instead of attacking the problems in his own state, Pritzker lashes out at governors who are actually doing their job. He traveled to Florida last weekend to say of DeSantis, he's trying to pass off his covert racism, homophobia, misogyny as a more reasonable form of Trump republicanism. So sad. Never has such a large man leveled such a small-minded smear. Yet we'd be remiss in our roundup of failed left-wing governors if we didn't mention New York's Kathy Hochul. COVID shutdowns and rules drove parents and businesses out of Manhattan in droves. What the New York Times called the exodus a once-a-century shock, writing, "It raises uncertainty about New York's competitiveness and economic stability." And because they refused to change their policies on crime and taxes, Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams revert to lame stunts, again focused on Florida. Mayor Adams recently spent taxpayer money to buy billboards in Florida, suggesting his city was more gay-friendly. Governor Hochul piled on and went a step further in a tweet calling DeSantis cruel and despicable. She's marketing her state as an abortion destination. Of course, DeSantis promotes growth. She promotes death. That says it all.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.